Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the U.S. Army Cadet Command's second virtual town hall. Our host this evening is Major General John R. Evans, Jr., the Commanding General of United States Army Cadet Command and Fort Knox, Kentucky. He is joined this evening by Brigadier General Antonio Munera, the Cadet Command Deputy Commanding General. The subject of this evening's town hall is Cadet Summer Training 2020. At this point, we will have opening remarks from the Commander, Major General Evans.
Thanks, Mark, and thanks to each of you for dialing in tonight. And I want to thank all of our cadets, our cadre, parents that are out there, and others who have a great interest and support for ROTC. We appreciate what you do day to day. I know most of you have already seen the video that was released by Cadet Command yesterday to discuss our approach for Cadet Summer Training this year. So I will be brief in my intro tonight to save time for your questions. I'm joined this evening by Deputy Commanding General of Cadet Command, Brigadier General Andy Munera. Additionally, members of the Cadet Command staff are standing by to provide greater fidelity on questions you may have that lie in their lanes of responsibility. As I provide the framework for the way forward for our rising senior and select lateral entry cadets, you may find yourself with questions specific to your personal circumstances, and as always, those are best addressed at the program level with your PMS. So I would ask you to refrain from asking questions that deal with specific or discrete circumstances that are unique to you. Your PMS and cadre are equipped to answer or seek answers for those questions. I'm here tonight to tell you that Advanced Camp and Basic Camp will now move from centralized training at Fort Knox to a decentralized execution of training called Operation Agile Leader. Agile Leader training will entail more focused on-campus instruction and more rigorous field training exercises. As you know, CST is the largest annual training event in the Army, involving over 10,000 cadets and 5,000 trainers and cadre over a 100-day period during the summer. The health and safety of our cadets, our soldiers, and our communities is our number one priority. Because of this, and after a thorough assessment of our traditional cadet summer training model at Fort Knox, we decided to reduce the risk of exposure to COVID-19 for this very large group. For those who plan to attend advanced camp this summer, the core skills and competencies that you would have practiced at Fort Knox will be addressed with on-campus training throughout the fall and spring semesters and longer and more rigorous field training exercises. Some of these FTXs will be accomplished during the fall and spring semesters, and some will be accomplished at the end of the summer, just prior to the start of official classes. Your program cadre can provide you better information on when your training will occur. In any case, while we will ensure that you are trained on the same critical tasks that are covered during CST, these FTXs will be much shorter than the month-long event you would have experienced at Fort Knox this summer. If you were planning to attend basic camp this summer, for most of you, it will now be provided as an additional program of instruction on campus to qualify you for your Military Science 3 level classes. Select military junior college cadets will undergo a 14-day FTX prior to the start of school to receive basic camp credit. For our rising seniors, we are adjusting classroom instruction, military science labs, and field training exercises to ensure you have the training required to be successful at the basic officer leadership courses after commissioning. If you are a senior graduating this month and require advanced camp prior to commissioning, the Secretary of the Army has approved constructive CST credit from your university's fall semester field training exercise last year. You will receive your commission on time from your ROTC programs and proceed to BOLC when scheduled, provided you have met all other commissioning requirements. Since you did not attend CST and will not have time to complete Operation Agile Leader, you can expect to be assessed at BOLC to determine if you require additional training before or after completion of the standard program of instruction at BOLC. The obvious difference between CST and Operation Agile Leader is the length of training. And I know many of you have questions about whether or not Agile Leader will provide you the requisite sets and reps to succeed at your BOLC courses and beyond. Rest assured, it will. In addition to Operation Agile Leader training, all Mission Set 21 cadets will receive 2 additional weeks of concentrated warrior task and leadership-focused training at TRADOC installations. Exact details on where this training will occur for you are forthcoming. Advanced Camp and Basic Camp are important elements in the ROTC cadet life cycle, but they serve only as a piece of the overall ROTC experience. While our rising seniors will not have an opportunity to attend traditional CST this year, we will combine quality instruction and additional resourced training at the program level to ensure you complete all tasks required of the ROTC curriculum. As for our rising junior cadets, rest assured you will experience CST at Fort Knox next summer. To our seniors, let me say, I am certain that if you approach Operation Agile Leader with focus and effort, you will succeed and you will be prepared for the next level of officer training. We will ask much of you this year, but the reward will be worth the effort. Ultimately, you will become second lieutenants and you will be the quality officers that our Army and its soldiers deserve. Now let me pass the mic to my Deputy Commander, Brigadier General Andy Manera.
Hey, thank you, sir, and to the cadets, the families, and cadre out there. Welcome. It's always good to talk to you. I just want to highlight some of the things that the Commanding General has already said that I think are worth talking about again. It is one, conditions of the environment have forced us to make some changes as highlighted by the Commanding General. And I imagine as we continue to go forward, as the environment changes, there probably is going to be some future adjustments. But I just want to highlight, some of the things that he talked about a little bit earlier, and it really comes down to really 4 points. And one, I think you heard him say, is we're doing everything we can. We're going to make sure that you commission on time. Two, we're going to make sure that as we go through this process, and there's our changes as we go through the process, no cadet will be disadvantaged as we go through this. It'll be a level playing field as we go through adjustments with the environment and with having no cadet summer training and different things that we may see throughout the year. And then three, like the Commanding General said, there's no doubt in my mind with the training that we have set up that your brigades and your programs are putting together, and with the pre-BOLIC training that we're going to accomplish in the summertime next year, you will all be ready to excel at your basic officer leader course, and you will also be ready to excel when you get to your first unit of assignment. And throughout the entire process, we're going to make sure that we do so safely, as we always do when we conduct training in whatever the environment is. And I would highlight that there's about 274 different programs out there, and all of you have nuances to your training and different issues. And so your best source of information will always be your program and your professor of military science. And so when you get those detailed questions, I encourage you to continue to ask that of your programs. Let me just shift gears a little bit, because I know one of your first questions is going to be, hey, we're not conducting cadet summer training. What is that going to do to the evaluations that we normally get during cadet summer training, and how does that impact the order of merit list? Well, basically, bottom line, we are going to pull the scores that you would originally get out of cadet summer training, and that will not be part of the order of merit list. We've done some things to adjust percentages a little bit, but really it comes down to we're going to shift some of those points that you would have normally got during cadet summer training and allowed your PMS to do weigh in a little bit more on your performance. And we've always known that your PMS's evaluations of you is the best indicator of how you are going to perform, once you get out to your first unit of assignments. As far as your GPAs, we're not going to weight that any heavier, but what we are changing, because some of you had some impacts on your spring courses and how you are graded, pass-fail versus letter grades, that we are going to revert back and use your fall GPA as your GPA of record, your GPA building up to that fall of your junior time period as your GPA of record for the OML, and so as to not disadvantage anybody. And then we had to adjust the physical requirements just a little bit because you couldn't execute a PT test at cadet summer training. But what I will tell you, is that we place a lot of emphasis on the importance of the physical demands of the profession that you are about to enter. And so one of the things that we are going to ask you to do is shortly after coming back to campus in the fall is take a record PT test. And so that combined with your previous record PT test will go into the order of merit list. One, it shows that you're physically fit, and two, it shows that you still have the self-discipline to do everything you can to make sure you're ready to be as a lieutenant when you come into the Army. Now, that being said, we know things could change, but again, I go back to my previous point that no cadet will ever be disadvantaged as we go through this process. So with that, I will turn it back over to the moderator.
Ladies and gentlemen, our format for tonight will begin with questions that were submitted in advance of the town hall. Similar questions may have been grouped together if multiple questions, similar questions were asked for brevity purposes. We will answer one question at a time and then take questions that are currently being submitted live online. We will continue answering questions until our allotted time for this is complete. And with that, we will go to the first question. We saw in the Annex EEE of Frago 25 that it does not mention incoming active duty green to gold awardees attending for the fall semester. How do the changes to CST affect these cadets?
Yeah, so I'll take that one. So if you look at the current stop move guidance, it ends about 30 June, and if nothing changes, we don't see that affecting any of our cadets from matriculating in the fall semester. Over.
The next question concerns the next academic year. How will basic camp work for students in the next academic year? Will they need to go to the nearest Army base to complete their training?
I'll go ahead and take that one. In a very short answer, I'll just tell you that that training is being planned currently, and it will either occur on campus or very close to your campus. But we are continuing to work the details on that.
The next question, what is the requirement that will be used as a substitute for CST for graduating seniors?
Yeah, so for our end of camp commissionees, as I mentioned during my opening comments, CST credit will be awarded based on your fall semester FTX from last year. And as I've reviewed the 400 or so cadets that are end of camp commissionees, I think all of them right now are set up to receive credit for that. They have to complete all other commissioning requirements in order to get commissioned as end of camp commissionees, but CST should not be a problem.
The next question concerns Operation Agile Leader. Operation Agile Leader will move some training to FTXs in both the fall and the spring. What will these changes look like for current cadets?
Yes, I'll take that one. And so, like the commanding general talked about before, so as we move from a centralized training here at Fort Knox to decentralized, each of the brigades will put together a series of training events where we're probably going to ask you to be in the field for a little bit longer. And really what we're looking at in that time in the field, and it could be anywhere from 96 hours to a little bit longer depending on your program and opportunities they have with local training installations. But what we're really looking at getting after is some of the basic soldier skills, some of those things that not everybody gets a chance to do on campuses, or their campuses aren't conducive for doing that, like land navigation and basic rifle marksmanship. And then probably more importantly is getting after the leadership aspects of being a lieutenant in our Army, and getting after the field training exercises where you can get the sets and reps into leading your peers in the various Ranger handbook type tasks, raid, ambush, so on and so forth, the things that you have been training for during your MS3 year, and to make sure that you are able to lead peers and subordinates and you're ready to get to Bullock and then on to your first unit of assignment.
The next question is for the Commanding General. Was there any consideration to postpone a cadet summer training and possibly shift cohorts and have twice the number of cadets at camp next year?
Yeah, it's a great question, and absolutely we considered that. Frankly, we considered multiple courses of action to try to find a way to conduct cadet summer training at Fort Knox this summer. But our problem with cadet summer training, it's not a problem, it's one of the joys of being here during the summer, is the volume. So over the course of 100 days, we bring about 10,000 cadets here with basic camp and advanced camp. We run 11 regiments that are 700 soldiers strong of advanced camp that start every 5 days. So when you think about that with regards to the sheer numbers that would be required to host 2 different advanced camps next summer, as capable as Fort Knox is, it's just not capable to withstand that amount of soldiers at one time. So we were able to get rid of that course of action relatively early because we just didn't have the infrastructure and capacity to do it. As we looked at other courses of action starting later, truncating the training, we found that really the best way to protect the force and continue to accomplish all of our objectives was to go with the Operation Agile Leader concept.
The next question is also for the Commanding General. It's a follow-on question. With regard to social distancing procedures at Fort Knox, was that the ultimate reason it wasn't safe to conduct CST this year?
Yeah, again, another good question and something that's on a lot of people's minds. So it has a little bit to do with social distancing here at Fort Knox. It also has a lot to do with the fact that we have cadets coming from all over the country during the summertime, to include cadre members and our RFF forces, our request for forces from FORSCOM, U.S. Army Reserve Command, MedCom, and other entities that come here and kind of coalesce on camp, on Fort Knox. We would have had an opportunity probably to lock them down into a 14-day quarantine that would have truncated the training considerably. But then on the back end, we were going to have to send all of those people back out into the population, different parts of the country that are experiencing different rates of exposure to COVID and different rates of acceleration or deceleration of the virus. And because of that, we felt that the risk might be too great. Inevitably, we would have had to exclude some cadets coming from high-risk areas and include others from low-risk areas, which would have upset the balance of giving everybody the standard experience. So it really wasn't as much about social distancing here as it was about the holistic approach of protecting our cadets, our cadre, and those folks that support camp.
The next question concerns what will the economic impact of not conducting CST be on the Fort Knox community?
Yeah, I can answer that one. I got a similar question last night when I ran our town hall for Fort Knox. Certainly, like a lot of our economy, COVID-19 has impacted the economy significantly. We all know that. Cadet Command, certainly when we run CST in the summer, we have some pretty substantial contracts that we let outside the gate to people that provide food services for us, sanitation services for us, transportation services for us, and not having the ability to let those contracts this year will have an impact on the economy. I can't really gauge how much of an impact it will be, but we recognize that there's an impact. With regards to the sheer number of people we bring to camp, however, all of the cadets stay on the installation. All of them are on essential unit messing, as are the cadre. So there's not a lot of money going outside the gate during cadet summer training to restaurants and other places. And since we were going to be unable to bring families here for graduation, even during the best circumstances because of the COVID threat, the chances for us to fill up hotel rooms during family days and graduation weekends was not going to be there either. So unfortunately, as we took a look at it, we know there's going to be an impact to the local economy. We've talked to local leaders about that. They respect our decision in trying to keep the local community safe. And they support our decision in this.
The next question is also for the Commanding General. Will components and branches still be released on time to cadets?
Yes, so based on the lag here, components are going to be released about 3 weeks later than normal, but we still hope to have our branching out in the November-December timeframe. We are currently working on the talent-based branching model. We still have to brief Army senior leaders on that model to get their support for using that as our branching mechanism this year. We will provide more information of that to our cadre and cadets as we start the fall semester and get back to school. But we expect to be able to give the branching decision at the same time that we normally do.
And if I could just follow up on that one. So, one of the things that we always do at cadet summer training for advanced camp and basic camp is we have our branch orientation where all the branches do come in here and you get the opportunity to visit branches that you may not have been exposed to back at your programs. And because we're not conducting summer training, of course, we can't do it here this year. But what we are doing is developing a virtual branch orientation. All the branch commandants are on board with developing products and conducting town halls that will start in the July timeframe to provide you numerous opportunities that you can go into a web portal, find out what you need to know about the branch, and then follow it up with the branches that you're really interested in with different branching town halls where you can ask questions of the commandants or the commandants' representatives. As we still look at going to talent-based branching and waiting on for that decision, one of the things that will take place this year that is different than last year, which most of you should be tracking, is that you will be able to interview with all the branches that you desire to interview with. And so, again, we are developing a virtual tool. We are already piloting it with the engineer branch and EOD, but we're going to roll that out, this virtual tool. It's called HireView, which will allow you, the cadet, to do a virtual interview. You can do it right on your iPhone and do the initial interview with the proponents or the commandants of those branches. And then if needed, there may be opportunities to do follow-up interviews with those branches. And so one of the things that's changed a little bit this year is the role of the commandants. They are much more involved in the branching process. And so it is incumbent on all the cadets out there to do those interviews, show your interest in the branches that you really want to go to, and it's also your opportunity to interview the branches to get a little bit more information about them. Because at the end, we're trying to match up what the commandants most prefer out of a cadet and what you most prefer out of a branch.
The next question concerns December graduates. Will cadets who are December MS-21 graduates advanced camp be waived for a session? If not, will they have to attend advanced camp next year?
Yeah, so no reason to waive them for sessions. They will go to camp and they'll be assessed in the fall of next year.
The next question, for cadets who had budgeted receiving their per-day pay at advanced camp to cover various financial expenses, will they still receive pay either over the summer or throughout the upcoming semester during the distributed field training exercises on campus?
Yeah, I'll take that one too. So, we're in a unique situation here. We're constrained by statute to a very great degree when it comes to paying cadets. That's why our camp periods are usually 28 days or longer. That's actually part of the law. So we're going back up through the Army chain of command to see if we can seek an exception to be able to pay cadets for their time, particularly for those who may be asked to come in prior to the start of school to attend an FTX, because we're sensitive to the fact that places a financial burden on our cadets. We'll do our level best to work that for you, but there are certainly some constraints that we have to deal with in that regard. With regards to the extended field training exercises, all those cadets will already be on their monthly stipend by the time those happen in the fall and spring, so they'll be covered. They'll just be longer FTXs. And let me add to that I'm sending letters out to the presidents of all your colleges and universities, talking to them about Operation Agile Leader and the fact that we're going to place a little bit higher demand on you with regards to your FTX in the spring and the fall, so that they can work with the administration, with the deans, and with the faculty there at the school to excuse you from any classes you might have to miss because of the FTX and give you an opportunity to make that work up in a reasonable amount of time. And we will work that through the PMSs, and I'll send that directly to the presidents of your colleges and universities, all of whom are tremendous supporters of Army ROTC.
The next question's for the Commanding General. Sir, since CST is canceled for the summer, but if our brigades still have school slots for things like airborne and air assault in July and August, will we still be able to attend these badge-producing schools?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And as you all well know, we made the call with the help of the Chief of Staff of Army, frankly, on CTLT earlier this year. He directed that no ROTC cadets or Academy cadets would go to CTLT, and did this in an effort to protect the force. Once again, I ask everybody to kind of put on, think about the fact that we've got to protect the force throughout all of this. Similarly, when it comes to Cadet Advanced Individual Training badge-producing schools, we've got to think in terms of protecting the force. Right now, we know that Airborne School is backed up because we've not been able to put the amount of cadets or correction soldiers and officers through that we need to, so they're going to be catching up. So based on that, and based on our desire to stay out of the FORCECOM formations as much as possible, we will not be hosting anyone at Airborne School, Air Assault School, or the other badge-producing schools this year, with very rare exception. There are very rare accepted cases for a couple of schools that we'll send people to. But, and I apologize that we can't offer you that opportunity this year, but I can assure you, having been in the Army for 32 years, you will get an opportunity to go to Air Assault School, to Airborne School. You'll have an opportunity to do those things in your career once you've pinned on as a lieutenant.
The next question is for the Commanding General. What effect will the CST decision have on the training focus for the next year? Will next year's MS3s be disadvantaged by the need of the cadre to train and assess the MS4s from a distributed environment?
Yeah, that's a great question too, and something that we've spent a lot of time staffing here as we've worked out the details of Operation Agile Leader. I'll tell you, we have an incredibly gifted cadre at all of our programs, and because of that, they came forward immediately and said, "Hey, if we're focusing on the fours, we don't want to leave the threes behind." And this is why you're going to see that many of the programs are going to conduct these preemptive, if you will, FTXs before school starts, so they can focus specifically on the MS4s during that period, and then be able to continue to share time with our threes and our fours in the fall and spring FTX periods. So the short answer is we're not going to disadvantage any of the MS3s. We're going to get you prepared for camp next year, and when you get ready to come to Fort Knox next summer, you'll be ready to tackle CST.
The next question concerns CST Cadre. For second lieutenants who were ordered to CST as cadre, what will happen to those second lieutenants now that CST is canceled?
I can take that one.
You got that one?
So basically their orders to CST will be revoked, and we'll get them at the very first possible bullet classes that we can get them to. It's just where the environment is here with no CST being conducted here at Fort Knox. There's no opportunities to bring lieutenants in here.
The next question is for the command nurse. How will junior nursing majors handle clinicals and camp?
Hey, teammates, Colonel Weisgram. So the respect to clinicals and this training, it is the expectation that nurses are soldiers first and soldiers always. We will continue to train with our brethren and do these tasks. If it does incur a friction point or some sort of disadvantage where you are compelled to do clinical during this exercise, we will work with you through the brigade nurse counselors to set up alternative training or another way that we can establish both of these for the common good of both of you and the other members of your cadet command. Sir.
Thanks, Brian.
The next question concerns scholarships. How will this CST decision affect 3- and 4-year national ROTC Army scholarships?
I'll let our Director of Recruiting, Marketing, and Incentives address that. Scott, if you would.
Hey, good evening. In regards to the scholarships, each case will be handled on a case-by-case basis, but this should not impact any of the payment for those scholarships or any of the incentives that you receive along with it, your monthly stipends, your tuition and fees. Everything should remain the same. Now, if for some reason that situation changes, simply contact your PMS, and he can reach out to us through the brigade to get an answer for your specific situation.
The next question is about cadets, and I believe this is in the command surgeon's ballpark. If we have a cadet who didn't go through the fall FTX due to medical reasons, and he was sent home from camp last year also for medical reasons, but he has graduated, how does he commission?
Good afternoon or good evening, Cadet Command. My name is Lieutenant Colonel Summers. I'm the surgeon here. So first, for anyone to commission, they have to meet the medical requirements to commission. And they'll work through my office to obtain the appropriate waiver or recommendation for medical qualification. Regarding the requirements for advanced camp attendance, that would largely rely on our RMID and G1 section, but the way I understand the question is the individual or this specific individual was sent home or went home from the first junior year advanced camp and is now unable to attend this year, and I think would most likely fall into the waiver or exception to policy category, but I'll defer to leadership on that.
I'll take that. So that's exactly right, Tom, you answered it. If for some reason, they didn't make it through camp last year for whatever reason it was and didn't get an opportunity this year, just work with your program and your chain of command to work through the waiver process back up through Cadet Command to determine if you're eligible for commissioning.
For our audience, that concludes the advanced submitted questions that we had. We will now transition to the Facebook Live questions that we are currently receiving. The first question, schools that have already announced that classes in the fall will be conducted online only, what will Cadet Command do to help programs gain exceptions from the universities to allow for additional training that must be done in person, or what exceptions will Cadet Command make for training that cannot be conducted in person? California state universities have already declared online classes only for next year.
Yeah, I'll jump on that one. So we heard about the California state school system making that decision today. Heard that from several different sources. And the answer is, I mean, we've been prepared for this, right? Because we know that some schools are choosing not to bring their students back in the fall semester out of an abundance of caution. So we're working with each individual program to figure out how to do that. Some of this may be brokering with the school, whether or not we can continue to conduct our training in the absence of the classes that are going on. Some of it may be a function of, for students who are at not regionally based, but maybe somewhere else in the country, they may pair up with another program and conduct the training that's required. But we're going to have to work this on a case-by-case basis, and we are deeply involved with the brigades on this right now, and they're going to be deeply involved with the program cadre on this. The bottom line is we're going to get you the training that you require, or we're not going to move you forward. And I'm telling you, we're going to get you the training that's required. So whether that has to wait and occur in the spring, in combination with the 2 weeks that we're going to add onto the end of your training, either at or prior to BOLIC, we're going to get you the training that's required to make sure that you're ready to become second lieutenants.
Will ADOs be waived for attending, considering we have completed all required tasks at our respective basic combat training locations?
So with regards to anybody who's green to gold or been through an S&P program or something like that, we hold in reserve the ability to give you constructive credit for that should the circumstances require it. But for right now, everybody in the 21 cohort will be required to participate fully in Operation Agile Leader. If we see a second wave of COVID, or if it begins to impact us again during this period next year, late winter, early spring, and we have to get creative with solutions, we might then entertain going back to Army senior leadership to see about granting constructive credit for those who have completed courses like basic combat training. But as of right now, we expect the entire 2021 cohort to complete Agile Leader.
Sir, with the current environment, do we anticipate any changes to basic camp next year? Will it be the typical 28 days, or will the duration change?
Yeah, so what we're doing is we're planning in parallel. So again, being informed by what some of the prognosticators are predicting out there, and there's different opinions across the board on whether or not we will see COVID again, or whether or not the new normal that we move back to makes us a little more conscious of how close we are socially. We're working on a camp concept that would be social distance informed or tactically dispersed informed versus doing the full up camp curriculum, which is what we would plan to do and hope to do, because we believe that provides the most value to our cadets out there. But we are working both of those in parallel. So I really can't answer the question right now. Just know that we are planning for the full 30-day experience or so, and we're also planning for something that'll be informed by a tactical dispersion type paradigm.
Gentlemen, the next question is directed at the command surgeon. For inbound ADO option cadets who continue to receive remedial AMIs on their DOT-MERB profile, specifically for successful corrective eye surgeries, are there any steps being taken to adjudicate the assessment and waiver issuances processes?
Hey, good evening. I'm going to take that one, sir, if you don't mind. For the green to gold process, if you are experiencing any challenges like that, I urge you to reach out to your processor. One of the things General Evans asked us to do is to not disadvantage anybody in this process, and that's what we're committed to down with the Recruiting, Marketing, Incentives Division. If you contact our processors, they will help work a timeline with you to get your documents submitted, and so that they are considered and you're allowed to participate as an ADO. Sir, if you don't mind, I'd like to circle back to that 3- and 4-year question.
Sure.
One of the things, for those of you that are 3- and 4-year scholarship winners, or were planning on attending basic camp, or are just new to the Army ROTC program, what I should have done is highlighted what you can do to better prepare yourself for that. The two things that I'd ask you to focus on are, number one, work with your recruiting officer or your HRA to get a fit to train or a DOT-MERB physical, so when it's time to contract, you have that on file. The second thing is stay in shape. That is part of our contracting procedure when you get back to camp. So the three things that we're looking at are you medically qualified, are you physically fit, and have you completed our basic camp? For high school scholarship winners, basic camp not required. Just stay fit and get medically checked out.
To Scott, just so everybody's clear, even though it's been very hard to get to doctors for referrals, I know that standard medical care and routine medical care has kind of been abated in a lot of places in our country, and we've had some struggles. I think DOT-MERBs has been very cautious in their approach, as you would expect them to be. They're part of DOD, and they've not been able to do as many of their physicals as they would like and review as many files. We have been doing telework here at Cadet Command, and we've been processing waivers the entire time. So, matter of fact, I processed about 40 of them today. So I can tell you that we are continuing to work on those. You're probably going to see a little bit of a slowdown in the process, and I know that's frustrating because it's already a bit of a slow process. But we are working diligently to make sure that we get everybody qualified and we get waivers in.
The next question concerns cadets who are scheduled to study abroad in fall 2020. Will those cadets be permitted to leave their programs?
Yeah, so we're assessing that on a case-by-case basis right now. We are still waiting for some guidance, not just from colleges, universities, and Department of the Army, but also from the countries which would host you for studying abroad. And as soon as we have more information on that, we'll provide it.
Sir, the next question addresses aviation cadets. How will cadets who aspire to go aviation branch go about taking aviation-specific medical exams with most of the bases being closed?
So thank you for that question, and we continue to work through that problem set with our flight physicals. Currently at this time, we ask you to work as closely as possible with your program to obtain appointments and physicals through your local MTFs. They've always been the primary source for obtaining these flight physicals, where we've done quite a few, but a small percentage of the overall flight physicals during cadet summer training. Additionally, the other requirement, the SIFT exam, has largely been done on the university campus. That said, other options are available at METS, and we're working through that as well. I anticipate to have guidance out to the programs within the next 2 weeks.
Hey, let me add to what the surgeon said there as well. Was in a dialogue with TRADOC and FORCECOM senior leaders about 2 weeks ago, and the director of the National Guard Bureau, Lieutenant General Dan Hokanson, was there. And he offered, when we talked about the fact that our cadets are going to need physicals and flight physicals, he offered up and said, hey, if there's anything the National Guard can do for you with regards to that, we've got flight surgeons that are capable of doing that as well. So I would encourage our cadre, as you're looking for solutions at local MTFs, don't forget about our Compo 2 and 3 partners that are out there who also have flight surgeons that can also help in this regard.
The next question, so a December 2020 grad, it's my understanding, will not receive a waiver for CST. Will they be required to wait until the summer of 2021 in order to commission?
So I believe if they can accomplish all of the required tasks during the FTX prior to the beginning of the fall semester, they have completed all of the Common Core Task List tasks that are required for BOLIC A and all other commissioning requirements, we should be able to commission them on time. Again, if something happens that precludes them from attending that training and they have to be able to make that up later in the year, then we're going to have to look at extending them. But right now, we're trying to keep everyone on track to the degree that we can.
The next question from online concerns the lateral entry process. What does the lateral entry process for this year look like, since there is no basic camp being conducted?
I'll let my director for recruiting, marketing, and incentives talk a little bit about that.
Good evening again. For lateral entry cadets, there's one main objective that you have to knock out before you can become an MS3 or an MS4, and that's credit for basic course, basically your MS1 and MS2 excuse me, classes. You can get credit for that a couple of different ways. One, if you are prior service and have already been to basic combat training. The other is to attend our dispersed basic camp, which will take place at each of your universities prior to the start of the school year. Sir.
Yeah, and again, the only exception there are going to be our military junior college inbound freshmen. They're required to go to basic camp at the end of their senior year in high school before they go to their military junior college. They will be doing a 14-day FTX, and we're working right now on the locations for that, and we'll give you more information on that when it becomes available.
The next question concerns Gold Bar recruiters. What is the current plan for Gold Bar recruiters for this year?
Yeah, that's another great question. So that's something that we are still assessing. We anticipate bringing on the same number of Gold Bar recruiters that we would normally do, but what we're also looking at is there some opportunity to bring in some extra Gold Bar recruiters because we're not bringing we're not bringing any of the second lieutenants to help out with cadet summer training. So we're still working on that. I don't have an answer for you, but there may be an opportunity to bring more Gold Bar recruiters on larger than we have in the past.
The next question concerns Operation Agile Leader. Does Operation Agile Leader have a set curriculum, or because it's distributed, is it left up to the discretion of the different programs?
Yes, hey, that's a great question. So what we've got is a set number of tasks that are directed to us and all the other commissioning sources from TRADOC. We call this the Common Core Task List. It is built into your curriculum in ROTC the same way it's built into military instruction at West Point or built into the OCS training pipeline. What I'm doing is we have briefed Army senior leaders on what those tasks are. We've given them a sample of what an FTX might look like by one of our task forces out there that's going to conduct that training. But I'm giving the brigades the latitude to be able to go out there and craft that training the way it makes sense for them. So we're not being prescriptive with regards to the sequence of things that have to happen, but I think you're familiar with some of the tasks that will have to be accomplished. Things like land navigation, basic rifle marksmanship, tactical care of the combat casualty. Those types of things will be going on in addition to the leadership experience of holding down different leadership jobs throughout the period of the FTX, just like you would if you were out here at tactics at camp. Today you're the squad leader, tomorrow you're the platoon sergeant, the next day you're the platoon leader. Those types of things will be going on. I'm trying to grant latitude to the programs in accomplishing the standard because that gives them a little bit more freedom and flexibility. So if that's from one of our cadre members, you should be able to refer back to your brigade and they will help you with regards to how we're crafting that within the task forces.
So this will be the last question based on our current time constraints. How will those in the commissioning class of 2021 be evaluated, since they traditionally teach the other cadets during their MS 4-year of ROTC?
Yes, that's a good question. What I would tell you is, you're being evaluated on your leadership all the time. How you interact in the classroom, how you interact during military science labs. It's not just about, hey, I'm going to teach a block of instruction today for 30 minutes and the cadre is going to evaluate me on that. You're being looked at in the way you carry yourself, the way you are working and interacting with your peers, and then obviously your command of the material, the military material that's part of your military science curriculum. So I think we're going to have ample opportunity to continue to evaluate you fairly, whether it's in the classroom, the military science lab setting, or the FTX setting. We've got cadre that have got a lot of experience out there. I don't think they will be lacking to find areas to evaluate our cadets.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now move to the closing portion and begin with closing comments from our Deputy Commanding General, Brigadier General Munera.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. So, just in closing, what I'd like to say, very proud of all of our cadets, cadre, and the families that are supporting them. What the Commanding General and I have seen is that you have been very, agile already and very resilient in the way that you have quickly transitioned from on-campus training to online training and still getting after all the self-discipline that you need to conduct a physical training to stay in shape. And you all are doing a phenomenal job. We hear from your brigade commanders and your programs every day on what a great job you're doing, and we also see it, every day on the great things that you post on social media. So absolutely applaud you for doing that. So, as you come into the Army, one of the things that we always do is we react to the conditions of the environment. We try to predict it as best we can, but in a lot of cases we react, and it requires the agility that you're already showing and the leadership that you are already showing. And as we move forward and we conduct, Operation Agile Leader, we have a great plan that's out there. There are probably going to have to be some adjustments as we go forward, but I know all of you can handle it. There will be some great opportunities, and you will get as much training as you would have gotten if you would have come through here for the standard cadet summer training. And between what you're doing on campus and what we're doing pre-BOLIC, I am confident that all of you will be ready to append your BOLIC courses and do very well at your BOLIC courses and be ready for your first unit of assignment. So again, very proud of everything that everybody is doing. Sir?
Yeah, thanks. Let me just echo the DCG's remarks with regards to just the incredible amount of admiration I have for your efforts and the pride that I have in being the commander of this organization with so many amazing, talented people, from our cadre, both civilian and military contractors, down to our cadets at every level. I've been absolutely blown away by the way you've tackled the challenges of this environment. And I'll tell you, it's not just unique to you. It's unique to you by virtue of where you are in your life cycle, but it's unique to all of us. None of us have ever dealt with anything like this. And so we are all having to adapt in different ways based on where we're at in our career paths. but you've done an exceptional job so far, and I have great faith and confidence that you will continue to do well. Let me tell you, this is something that has been a topic of conversation within the Army for really since we decided to kind of go to ground for COVID-19 as a country. I have briefed the Secretary of the Army no less than 4 times on cadet summer training. Such is his interest in making sure that we provide you a quality training experience. And that is an awful lot of time with our service secretary, but he was that involved in making sure that what we were going to do for you was going to prepare you for the next level of your officer career path. And that's why we spent so much time on it. The Cadet Command staff, your brigade staffs, and of late, just in the last week or so, some of your program staffs have been working with us to provide a feasible, acceptable, and supportable alternative to bringing everybody here for cadet summer training, because we just didn't think it was possible, and we certainly believed it wasn't safe. So thanks for your continued efforts. Like the DCG said, control the things that you can control. Stay in shape, right? I know the gyms aren't open right now, and you may not be able to go to PT formation, but you can get yourself out of the rack in the morning and do PT, combat fitness focused, functional fitness focused PT. Get out there and get after it. Continue to stay up on your studies. I know school's over for most of you right now, but you've got to continue to apply yourself. Seek out some self-developmental opportunities to look at the things that you may be struggling with as a cadet as part of our military art. If you know that small unit tactics are a struggle for you, find the appropriate Army resources within your cadet program, within Army publications which are available online, and do some self-study on that. Prepare yourself now while you can. Don't squander this opportunity. I talk a lot to this formation about my culture. I come from a special operations culture. I come from an aviation culture. And a lot of you have heard me ask the question, what's rule number 1? And rule number 1 is always fly the airplane. And that ain't about flying airplanes. That's a metaphor to talk to you about watching the obstacles that are in front of you and knocking those down one at a time so that you can get to the next objective. Don't get distracted by the things that are on the periphery. Stay focused on the task, and whatever you do, don't ever, ever quit. I got faith and confidence in you. Keep up the good work. Always fly the airplane.